or sitting alone with the lights low. Welcome to Midnight...
Good evening, night wanderers. Welcome back to Midnight Radio Horror, where the rain falls soft against your window and the dark hums just a little too close. Tonight's story comes from a quiet operator who worked the graveyard shift at a small-town 911 dispatch center. He said the call he received that night wasn't a prank. Couldn't have been, because the number he answered hadn't existed for 10 years. So wherever you are, lay back, close your eyes, and let the rain take over. This is the last call from 911. Story begins. My name's Evan Miller, and for 7 years, I worked night shifts at a 911 dispatch center in a little Midwestern town. It was the kind of place where nothing ever really happened. A few drunk calls, some domestic disputes, the occasional lost dog. Nights were long, but quiet, predictable, until last winter. It was around 2:17 a.m. when the call came through. The line blinked red, line 3. I put on my headset, pressed the button, and said the same thing I'd said thousands of times before. 911. What's your emergency? Nothing. Just static. A faint hiss, like wind pushing through an empty hallway. I checked the system. Caller ID read 701-555-0193. It caught my attention, not because I recognized it, but because the system had tagged it in gray, not green. That only happened for disconnected numbers. I frowned, rechecked the log. Yep, that number had been deactivated since 2014. 911, this is Dispatcher Miller. I repeated a little louder. Can you hear me? Then I heard it, a woman's voice whispering, so faint I had to hold my breath just to catch the words. He's still in the house.
I froze. The voice was trembling, broken, like she was trying not to cry. Ma'am, are you in danger? Can you tell me your address? Static. Then, after a pause, I'm in the kitchen. Please hurry. I started logging the call, pinning location data. But the line gave me nothing. No coordinates, no trace. The mapping screen pulsed, then flashed an error. Invalid signal source. Ma'am, what's your name? I asked. Can you hear me? This time, the line went quiet for almost a minute. Then a different sound came through, not the woman's voice. It was knocking. 3 slow knocks, echoing through the static. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence. I called out again, heart hammering now. Ma'am, if you can hear me, get somewhere safe. Lock the door. No answer. Just the faint hum of the open line. And then, right before the call cut out, he's behind you. The line went dead. I sat there, staring at the screen, my headset still pressed tight. When I finally ran the number through the system again, I almost dropped my coffee. The last call ever made from 701-555-0193 had been logged December 12, 2014, exactly 10 years ago that night. The call notes said it was from a woman named Marissa Lane. Her final words, according to the record, he's behind me. I didn't sleep that morning. I just sat in my car in the dispatch parking lot, replaying the call over and over in my head. The timestamp, the static, the voice, and that last sentence, he's behind you. I tried to convince myself it was a prank, a sick joke, but the voice wasn't something you could fake. It had fear soaked into every word. And that number, the one tagged as disconnected, it still burned in the back of my mind. When my shift ended, I walked back inside, pretending I'd left something behind. No one was there except Tom, our IT guy. He was half asleep at his desk, coffee cup in hand. Hey Tom, I said, quick question. You got a second? He blinked at me. You're still here? Yeah, I got a weird call last night. Line 3. System tagged it gray. Number came up disconnected. He frowned, typed a few things into his terminal. Gray tag means ghost data, usually a test glitch or old archive connection. What's the number? I told him. The second he typed it in, the monitor froze. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then Tom muttered, "That's not possible." "What's not possible?" I asked. He pointed at the screen. According to this, the number's inactive, but the log shows a signal ping last night. From where? He turned to me. His face had gone pale. It's showing an origin from inside the dispatch building. I laughed nervously. You mean like the system's echoing itself? He shook his head. No, the coordinates match an active phone line, one that hasn't been touched in years. He pulled up the extension. Station 4B. My stomach dropped. That was the unused operator booth, the one next to mine. The chair that always sat empty. The one with the dust still on the keyboard. We went to check. The hallway felt colder than usual. The fluorescent light above 4B flickered, buzzing softly. Tom opened the door, and the stale air hit us. Everything was just as it had been left. The headset coiled neatly on the desk, an old coffee cup dried solid beside it. The monitor was off, but as we stepped closer, it blinked to life on its own. Static, and then the faint outline of a waveform on the audio feed. Live input, even though no one was on the headset. Tom whispered, "It's recording." The speakers crackled, and from them, a faint whisper, the same voice I'd heard last night. "He's still in the house." Tom ripped the headset out of the port. The sound stopped instantly. Neither of us said anything for a long time. When I finally got home, the silence of my apartment felt heavier than usual. I poured a drink, turned on the TV just for background noise, tried to shake off what happened. But then my personal phone buzzed. No caller ID. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Nothing. Just breathing. Then that same voice again, faint, breaking, terrified. "Evan, he knows you heard me." The line went dead. I didn't go to work the next night. I told the supervisor I was sick, but the truth was, I couldn't bring myself to walk back into that building. Not after hearing her voice again. Not after she said my name. I never told her my name. I spent most of the day staring at my laptop, trying to make sense of it. I searched every public record I could find. Marissa Lane, 701 area code, 2014 homicide reports, missing persons. After a few dead ends, I found a local article from December 2014. Woman found dead in home after disturbance call. Suspect never identified. The name hit me like a brick. Marissa and Lane, 32. Same town, same night, same last words recorded in the police report. He's behind me. The deeper I read, the worse it got. She lived less than 4 blocks from the old dispatch center. Her killer was never caught. And the weirdest part? The responding officer who took the call, Detective Thomas Miller. My dad. He died in 2016. A heart attack, they said. But now, for the first time, I started wondering if it was something else. I drove to his old house that night. My stepmother sold it years ago, but it still sat empty, unsold, the kind of forgotten home that still remembered everything. The driveway was cracked. The front porch light flickered when I stepped up. I had the old spare key from when I used to visit. It still worked. The moment I stepped inside, the smell hit me. Dust, old wood, something faintly metallic. The air felt heavier. My dad's office was still the same. Desk, file cabinet, the photo of him and me fishing. I turned on the lamp and started going through his drawers. It didn't take long to find it. An evidence folder marked December 12th, 2014/Lane case. Inside were the photos from the scene. A small kitchen, blood on the linoleum, the outline of a woman's body, and on the back of one photo, written in my father's handwriting. She called back after death. My pulse started to race. Under the photo was a yellowed note, a 911 call transcript. But this one wasn't logged in any official system. It was handwritten, 2:17 a.m. Incoming call, unknown line. He's behind me. Who are you? He won't stop until he finds the one who heard. I froze. The one who heard. I read it again. Then again. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe fear, made me swipe the screen. Hello. A pause. Then static. And through it, a woman's whisper, closer than before, like she was right next to the receiver. You shouldn't have looked for me, Evan. The line went dead. I dropped the phone and stumbled back. And that's when I saw it. The faint glow coming from the kitchen down the hall. The light was on. I hadn't turned it on. The light from the kitchen glowed faintly down the hall, pale, cold, humming softly like a dying fluorescent bulb. I hesitated in the doorway of my father's office, the old floorboards creaking beneath me. Every instinct screamed to leave, but something about that light, it felt wrong. Not electrical, not natural. almost like the air itself was glowing. I stepped closer. The walls along the hallway were lined with old family photos. My father, my mother, me as a kid. Except now, as I passed, I noticed something I swear wasn't there before. In every photo, my father's eyes were scratched out. Thin, deliberate lines carved right into the glass. I reached the kitchen doorway and stopped. The light source wasn't the ceiling bulb at all. It was coming from the old rotary phone on the counter. It was off the hook and glowing. A sickly green light pulsed through the coiled cord, like veins. I just stared. Then, without touching it, the receiver lifted slightly, as if someone invisible had picked it up. Click! The dial spun once on its own. A faint hiss filled the room, and then I heard that same woman's voice again, whispering right into the receiver. He's here. I backed away, heart pounding, eyes darting across the kitchen. The air felt electric, the kind of static charge before a storm. And then the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming from the basement door behind me. Each step creaked, louder than the last. I turned toward the door, gripping the counter for balance. The handle began to turn, just a little, just enough to make the hinges groan. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a flashlight. The batteries were weak, the beam dim. Who's there? I called out. My voice cracked halfway through. No answer, just breathing. And then a whisper, a man's voice this time, deep and strained. You shouldn't have answered her call. The door burst open. The flashlight flickered, the bulb whining. For a split second, I saw a figure standing in the stairwell, tall, drenched in shadow, face obscured. Then the light died completely. I bolted. I ran straight out the front door, into the freezing night air, my lungs burning. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I sat there, shaking, staring at the house. All the lights inside were now off, except the kitchen. Through the window, I could still see the faint glow of that rotary phone, pulsating, almost like it was waiting for me to come back. I didn't sleep again that night, or the night after. The glow from the rotary phone haunted me in every shadow, every corner of my apartment. It was as if Marissa's voice had followed me home. Finally, I realized I couldn't hide anymore. I had to go back, not to my father's house, but to the dispatch center. If the call had originated there, if the signal had come from the empty booth, maybe I could finally understand what had happened. I arrived just before midnight. The building was silent, cold. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as I made my way to the old 4B booth. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the headset hung perfectly over the hook, untouched, but the monitor was alive and pulsing with static. I leaned closer, and the waveform jumped violently, as if reacting to my presence. Then the whisper, soft, trembling, terrified. He's watching. I froze. My hand hovered over the keyboard. Then the static formed words, clear, typed across the monitor without me touching anything. You heard her. Now he's coming for you. I backed away, and that's when I saw it. The shadow, darker than darkness itself, standing in the corner of the room. Tall, featureless, breathing slow, heavy. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The figure raised its hand. The air around it shimmered. You shouldn't have answered. The lights flickered once, twice. Then everything went black. The next morning, the janitor found the booth empty. No signs of struggle. No trace of me. All that remained was the headset dangling on the hook, and the monitor still blinking with static. Sometimes late at night, I swear I hear a faint phone ring in my apartment. And if I pick it up, a whisper, broken and trembling, calls my name. Evan, you answered her call. Days blurred into nights. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shadow. Felt its presence behind me, even in broad daylight. I tried calling friends, the police, anyone, but the number wouldn't connect. Every attempt returned the same disconnected tone. Finally, I realized I had to go deeper. I went back to the dispatch center during the day when it was empty. I needed access to the old call logs, everything my dad had ever saved. Every report, every trace of Marissa Lane. The IT system was almost antique, but I managed to dig up old call transcripts. That's when I noticed something. Not just Marissa's last call, but others, calls tagged as disconnected, phantom, no trace. All of them mentioned the same thing. He's behind you. Don't look now. But he's near. You shouldn't have answered. Over decades, dozens of calls. All in my town, all untraceable, all eerily similar. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. It wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It was an entity. Something that lived in the lines, in the wires, in the spaces between voices. And it had chosen me now. I was piecing together the pattern when I heard the faintest hum. The same rotary pulse-eyed scene in my father's house. A single number flashed on the old monitor. 701-555-0193. The number was active again. The line was live. I didn't want to pick up, but something inside me, curiosity, fear, obsession, forced my hand. I lifted the receiver. Evan, the whisper was right there, inside my skull now, not through the headset. You shouldn't have answered her call. Static exploded around me. The shadow from the 4B booth flickered into view behind the monitor, growing larger. And then, for the first time, I heard a new voice, deep, echoing, distorted. He's mine now. The lights went out. The building went silent. And the line kept ringing. When I woke up, I was still in the dispatch booth. But something was off. The monitors were all on, flickering between lines of code and static. The time on the wall clock read 2:17 a.m., the exact time Marissa Lane made her last call. The headset was on my head, though I didn't remember putting it there. I could hear breathing on the line. Not mine. Slow. Uneven. Bet. Then a whisper. You're on the wrong side now, Evan. I ripped the headset off and stumbled toward the door, but the hallway wasn't right anymore. The fluorescent lights stretched too far. The walls seemed narrower. Every step echoed like I was walking inside a tunnel. I ran. I didn't even know where I was running to, but I knew I couldn't stay. Then I noticed something glowing at the end of the hall, a small red light blinking. It was the recording room. The door was open, and inside, on the old reel-to-reel player, a tape was already spinning. A voice played from it, my voice. 911, what's your emergency? He's still in the house. Ma'am, stay on the line. He's behind you. Click. Then my voice again. Only this time, older. Slower. Cracked. He's behind me. The tape clicked off. My hands were shaking. I turned toward the glass window, separating the booth from the hallway. And that's when I saw it. My reflection was still there. But it wasn't moving with me. It stood perfectly still, headset on, eyes black, mouth slightly open. Then the reflection tilted its head. Not like a person, but like something trying to understand how a person works. And in a voice that was both mine and not mine, it whispered, You answered her call, Evan. Now answer mine. The headset in the reflection lifted on its own. The phone on the desk started to ring, sharp and shrill, cutting through the air. Ring, ring, ring. Each tone got louder. The sound filled the hallway, vibrating through the walls, until the glass in front of me began to crack. Then from somewhere deep in the static, a final whisper, The line is open. The sound of that ringing drilled through my skull. Each tone sharper, closer, heavier, like the air itself was vibrating. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't just around me. It was inside me. I screamed. The glass finally shattered, exploding outward, shards slicing across my arm. The ringing stopped, and in the silence that followed, I heard breathing again. Right next to me. I turned. The reflection was gone, but in its place, standing inside the booth, was something else. It looked human at first. A man, tall, dressed like one of us. Only his skin was too pale, too smooth like stretched wax, and his eyes were empty sockets filled with static. He stepped closer. The air grew colder. The smell of burning wires filled my nose. You kept the line open, he said, his voice fractured like radio static bent through 1,000 frequencies. That's how we find you. I managed to whisper. He tilted his head like a broken puppet trying to understand fear. Every voice that called for help and was never heard. Every line left ringing. Every dispatcher who listened too long. The monitors around us flickered to life, screen after screen, each one showing a different 911 log. Different times, different years, hundreds of calls, and on every one of them, the same message typed in red letters across the bottom. He's behind you. The figure reached out a hand toward me. It wasn't flesh. It was smoke, static, and screaming faces moving beneath the surface. "You can't hang up now," he said. "You're part of the line." I stumbled back, hitting the console. The phone began to ring again. This time, the caller ID flashed something new. "Calling, Evan Miller." I stared at it. The call was coming from my own number. The ringing grew louder, echoing like thunder. I could hear my voice on the other end, muffled, desperate, whispering the same thing Marissa had said years ago. "He's still in the house." The shadow reached through the static and gripped my wrist. Cold burned through my veins. My vision blurred, and then everything went silent, except for the faint, steady hum of the open line. The last thing I saw before the darkness took over was the waveform on the monitor. It was still moving, still recording, still alive. The dispatch center reopened a week later. They said what happened was an electrical surge, that the short circuits caused a small explosion in one of the booths. That Evan Miller, me, was missing, presumed dead. But the thing about rumors in small towns is they spread faster than the truth. And soon, every dispatcher working the night shift started saying the same thing. That after midnight, one of the lines, line 3, would blink red on its own. No call, no number, just a faint sound of breathing on the other end. At first, no one answered, until one night, a new operator named Sarah Dean decided to. She told the others afterward that the voice on the line sounded calm, familiar, like another dispatcher. He said his name was Evan, said he used to work there. The figure reached out a hand toward me. It wasn't flesh, it was smoke, static, and screaming faces moving beneath the surface. "You can't hang up now," he said. "You're part of the line." I stumbled back, hitting the console. The phone began to ring again. This time, the caller ID flashed something new. "Calling, Evan Miller." I stared at it. The call was coming from my own number. The ringing grew louder, echoing like thunder. I could hear my voice on the other end, muffled, desperate, whispering the same thing Marissa had said years ago. "He's still in the house." The shadow reached through the static and gripped my wrist. Cold burned through my veins. My vision blurred, and then everything went silent, except for the faint, steady hum of the open line. The last thing I saw before the darkness took over was the waveform on the monitor. It was still moving, still recording, still alive. The dispatch center reopened a week later. They said what happened was an electrical surge, that the short circuits caused a small explosion in one of the booths. That Evan Miller, me, was missing, presumed dead. But the thing about rumors in small towns is they spread faster than the truth. And soon, every dispatcher working the night shift started saying the same thing. That after midnight, one of the lines, line 3, would blink red on its own. No call, no number, just a faint sound of breathing on the other end. At first, no one answered, until one night, a new operator named Sarah Dean decided to. She told the others afterward that the voice on the line sounded calm, familiar, like another dispatcher. He said his name was Evan, said he used to work there. "Is this some kind of joke?" she'd asked. "No," the voice replied. "I'm still on shift." She said the static grew louder after that, until it drowned everything out. Then, right before the line cut, she heard another whisper, one she swore wasn't his. "He's behind you." Sarah quit the next morning. She packed her desk, left her headset on the hook, and never came back. Now line 3 stays disconnected. The booth where I worked is sealed off with caution tape. The others say sometimes if you walk by after 2 a.m., you can hear the faint hum of static through the door. And if you listen closely, you'll hear someone quietly repeating the same thing over and over. 911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency? It sounds calm, professional, routine, until you notice the voice doesn't stop between calls. Until you realize it's not waiting for an answer. It's waiting for you to pick up. The storm was loud that night. Rain hammering against the glass of the dispatch center, thunder shaking the old fluorescent lights. Only one operator was on duty. Liam Carson, new recruit, nervous. He'd been warned never to touch line 3. But around 2:11 a.m., the red light blinked on. A soft, rhythmic pulse cutting through the darkness like a heartbeat. He stared at it for a full minute. No caller ID. No data on the screen. Just that light. He laughed under his breath. Okay, let's see what the fuss is about. And he pressed answer. 911. What's your emergency? He said. Nothing. Only faint static. Then a voice, low and tired. You shouldn't have picked up. Liam froze. Who is this? The voice sighed. You took my line. For a second, he thought he heard his own name echoing back. Liam, whispered through multiple layers of static. The temperature in the room dropped. His breath fogged up the glass. He reached for the power switch to hang up, but the screen flashed white. Then text began typing itself across the monitor. Call connected. Line 3 active. Shift reassigned. Wait, what does that mean? He whispered. The headset crackled again. You work here now? Every light in the room flickered, then died. The storm outside stopped, suddenly, unnaturally. And from the dark, a faint voice whispered through his earpiece. 911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency? The next morning, when a supervisor arrived, Liam's chair was empty, but his headset was still warm. And line 3, it was glowing steady red again, as if someone was waiting for the next shift to begin.